Do you do the countdown? Okay. Welcome, everyone, to the June 11th, 2026 meeting of the Penfield Planning Board. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, Michelle, please call the roll.
Kanauer.
Kanauer here.
Daly.
Daly here.
McCooey. McCooey here. Tydings.
Tydings here.
Sangster.
Sangster here.
Weishaar.
Weishaar here.
O'Connor.
O'Connor here.
Prinzing.
Prinzing here.
Verigno here.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve the May 28th, 2026 minutes?
So moved.
Second, Tydings.
Kanauer.
Kanauer, aye.
Daly.
Daly, aye.
McCooey.
McCooey, aye.
Tydings.
Tydings, aye.
Okay, tonight is a public hearing meeting, as well as there's some tabled applications on the agenda and one other action item. As we typically do, we will first address our tabled applications and action items. And then when we complete that, we'll go into the public hearing applications. There's 3 of them on there tonight. If you're in the audience and you would like to speak to any of these applications, there's slips of paper by the door. You can put your name on it, what application you want to speak to. And it's not necessary, but at least that keeps things moving along a little bit better. So with that, Doug, if you could start with our tabled applications.
All right, tabled application number 1, 484 Plank Road. Project's new engineer has started to submit new materials, including an engineer's report and an updated utility plan, but we haven't received a full new set of plans or a photometric plan. I know they are working through some engineering and stormwater with the engineering department. Until we receive more information, the board can consider taking no action.
Okay.
All right. Tabled application number 2, 1801 Fairport 9 Mile Point Road. We did reach out to the applicant just to get a status update. They indicated they're still working with the engineers indicated that they're still working with the applicant to address the PRC memo and the conditions in the tabling resolution from March. They're hoping to have plans submitted in time for the next work session. Again, the board can consider taking no action.
Okay.
On to the new business. Do we have Tony on Zoom? PCTV?
He's there. Yes.
Okay, cool. All right, so our first new business item is 47 Leedale Coastal Consistency Review. We introduced this to the board at the last meeting. This is kind of a unique circumstance in which the owner is seeking approval from the zoning board. The way our code is written in the LWRP section necessitates that the planning board review the waterfront assessment form and provide a draft consistency recommendation memo to the Zoning Board of Appeals, who will ultimately render the final decision as part of the zoning board application. We do have the engineer representing the applicant on Zoom for any questions.
Okay. Hey, Steve, did you want to?
Yeah, I just had one comment in connection with this, having looked at it closer since our last meeting, and that's there's several waterfront criteria relating to aesthetic impacts, especially with respect to the bay. And I guess from the application, it was hard for me to get a sense of how this structure, if at all, will obstruct views from the, from the east looking west. I mean, as you can see in the map that we're looking at here, this proposed barn, or whatever pole barn we're calling it, is going to be there at the end of the road, and I don't know how or if that will obstruct views of the bay, depending on the season.
This is Tony with Mahar Engineering. Can you hear me this time?
Yes.
So if I could just speak to that point Steve made regarding the effect on the view. With the proposed structure, the finished floor elevation is located roughly 10 feet below the existing grade of the cul-de-sac at Leedale Drive. And ultimately, with the architectural plans shared with this pole barn accessory structure, we're looking to meet the 20-foot max building height requirement and criteria in the zoning law. So as far as how that will appear from the cul-de-sac, it'll essentially be nestled coming down the hill somewhat, but then be located with a jutting out essentially from the landscape vertically about 10 feet. And as you can see from the view that you have pulled up, just from, say, Google Maps Street View, there's a lot of mature vegetation located further west down the property slope that isn't affected by the project, that really obstructs the view of the lake, sorry, not the lake, but the bay from Leedale Drive's cul-de-sac.
Got it. Yeah, I appreciate that explanation. One other thing that just I'm not fully up to speed on is there was a reference in the application, I think it was to the ZBA for the area variance, is a prior application. Can someone just fill me in on what that was about? I guess it was in 2020 timeframe.
Yeah, I can do that. So Matt, if you go back to the GIS. Initially, so there's 54 and 50 were two separate lots. There's still two separate lots. The applicant previously applied or was looking to apply to the Zoning Board of Appeals to do just an accessory structure on 50. At that point, it would have been an accessory use without a primary use on the property, which would have required a use variance. What they ended up doing was purchasing 47 Leedale Drive, and through re-subdivision with the planning board last year, merged 47, 50, and 50B into a single lot. It's not reflected on the GIS because the plat map was recently filed and the GIS data has been updated yet.
Got it. Yeah, I appreciate that explanation. That's helpful. No further questions for me at this point.
Okay. Anyone else, Terry?
Yeah, Tony, what is this structure going to be used for?
I was Terry to ask that question.
Correct.
All right.
Yes.
Yeah, so with respect to the use of the structure, it's primarily going to be used for vehicle storage and other storage by the property owner, Mark Frederico. He typically has referred to the storage of a boat trailer that he is in possession of. And in addition to that, with the architectural plans, what's proposed is a bit of a lean-to extension of the roof heading further northeast, whereby he can store vehicles and other, store his private vehicles on site, essentially.
And you're going to need, what, one variance, two variances? How many variances are you going to request from the ZBA for this?
So with the application, there's just a single variance that was identified as being required. That for the fact that the total square footage of this accessory pole barn dominates the square footage of the principal structure, and that it is exceeding it. Other than that, like I said before, we're proposing a structure that will meet the max building height criteria, and the position of the structure will also meet all applicable side and front setbacks, being 50 feet minimum.
Okay, and I understand you're scheduled for June 18th for zoning, correct?
Yes, I believe we're 7th on the agenda.
Okay. That's it for me, thank you.
Okay. Johnna?
No questions.
Okay. So it looks like if we agree that the proposed action is consistent with the LWRP, we would vote that staff draft a consistency recommendation letter to the Zoning Board of Appeals for that. So if people are in agreement, if someone wants to make a motion?
What's that consist of? When you say a recommendation of the zoning board?
A recommendation that it is consistent with the LWRP
Yes, so.
It'll be up to them, the ultimate decision, though, if they want to.
on the zoning portion.
Well, on the overall as well.
Right.
So the awkward way the code is written is it doesn't really contemplate an application that does not require planning board review. It's just a shortcoming in the code. So ultimately, the final determination of consistency will be with the zoning board, but they're required to take into consideration a memo or any recommendations from the planning board regarding whether the planning board believes the proposed action is consistent with the LWRP.
What if we didn't send the memo? What's that mean? So, I mean, it's still up to them to make the decision, correct?
It's still up to them to make the decision. The code doesn't really reflect whether that would be seen as a disapproval or non-satisfaction or inconsistency with the LWRP. It doesn't really address that.
I mean, maybe this is further to that same point, but will they review the action anyway,
Yes.
whether we do or do not?
I thought that the planning board actually is the board of jurisdiction on the waterfront consistency, and then you make that determination, and then the zoning board considers the variances.
So the way the code, and I'm going to pull it up here just because of the way it's worded. The steps of review it has is upon being referred from the agency being town staff, to the planning board, shall consider the proposed whether the proposed action is consistent with the LWRP policy standards set forth within subsection H herein. The planning board shall require the applicant to submit all necessary applications, the waterfront assessment form, any other information. The planning board shall render its recommendation to the agency within 30 days following the referral of a waterfront assessment form from the agency, unless extended by mutual agreement. Then below, on determination of consistency, the Zoning Board of Appeals is the designated agency for the determination of consistency for variance applications subject to Part 1. The Zoning Board of Appeals shall consider the written consistency recommendation of the planning board in the event and at the time it makes a decision to grant such a variance, and shall impose appropriate conditions on the variance to make the activity consistent with the objective of the LWRP. The town board shall have jurisdiction in such matters within the LaSalle's Landing District.
So this is a rare instance. Normally, it's the town board is the one that's considering this stuff in the LaSalle. So this is very unusual. So, okay. What section are you in, Doug?
It's chapter 232, -5, review of actions. It's kind of an unusual circumstance. Usually this is being done as part of a larger site plan or other development application. In this case, the proposed action is above what would be considered a minor action. Most variances are considered a minor action. This one, most area variances are considered a minor action under the code, though it lists specific ones. It did not list one, in this case, the predominating the primary structure. If
Right,
it
so
was a
like a-
setback variance,
like
if
a
all they needed was a
setback
setback
would-
variance,
This is
it would be considered a minor action that's exempted from the LWRP altogether. So it's really a unique circumstance.
So it does say that the planning board shall consider.
Yeah.
So I do think that the planning board should make a recommendation. I understand oftentimes we want to let the zoning board make its own determination.
Right.
But I think that this board should act.
On the LWRP portion of it.
Yeah, so it would be,
Consistency
that's all.
with that.
This,
Yeah.
you're not commenting at all on whether the zoning board should grant the variance.
Correct.
It's only whether or not this is consistent with the local waterfront consistency plan.
Okay.
The structure itself, is that part of that? The structure itself,
Well, there's criteria in the, I mean, you'd be considering the structure, but it's along with the criteria, to the extent that that impacts the criteria. Like one of the questions was, is it obstructing the view?
Right.
So.
Should we
this
be
is-
looking at the materials they're going to use to build this structure if it's approved by the zoning board?
If you
Should we be
think
doing
it-
that, or zoning gonna-
Well, zoning probably isn't going to look at the structure, at what it's made of. I mean, if you think that's germane to one of the, the factors here for the consistency, I mean, this is another issue that we have with the local waterfront consistency in Penfield is the area involved is way larger than it would normally be. I don't even know if you could, it comes all the way up. I think it even goes up.
Goes to
you're gonna-
Bay Road.
Yeah, it goes all the way to
Bay
Bay
to Creek.
Road, which is, I mean, it's way larger than you would expect.
Yeah. I've been down.
So being up there is not really going to have much of an impact on the waterfront, but that's how large the area is. And normally, when we're looking at it, it's going to be minor actions typically. I mean, this is the first time I can ever remember the planning board looking at this independent of anything else.
Doesn't ring a bell. But I'm thinking, does it fit in the area? It's a residential street, right? So now we're going to put a pole barn down. Well, does that fit in? Should we be considering whether or not that fits into the residential area? I guess?
So the
I mean,
policies
it's an
are,
accessory structure to a residential property. There's residential properties all over town that have sheds and barns
Yeah,
for storage
the
of.
variance which ZBA would look at is based on the fact that it exceeds, because it's larger than the primary structure for square footage.
So we don't have to worry about that.
yeah, so
Correct.
the policies are in the code. Like, for example, policy 1, does it foster a pattern of development in the waterfront area that enhances the community character, preserves open space, makes efficient use of infrastructure, makes beneficial use of waterfront location, and minimizes adverse effects on development? I mean, this is it's nowhere near the waterfront, but, that you have to consider that.
Yeah.
Policy 2, preserve historic resources in the waterfront area, enhance visual quality, and protect scenic resources throughout the waterfront area. All these things are focused really more on the waterfront, and that's what you need to, is it consistent, or is it going to be inconsistent with these policies? I didn't print out a copy of the water the assessment
Waterfront
form.
assessment form.
I don't think I have it here. But I believe that staff looked at it under each of the criteria.
There was really nothing that triggered
Right.
in the waterfront. The one that they did note and was provided was, going to the historic resources, they did provide a letter from SHPO of no impact.
Where this is you would expect if there's a development right on the waterfront down at the bay, that's where this really is going to apply. but, I mean, we're up on the top of the, one of the things, the town is looking at, whether to reduce the size of that area to be more in line with where the water is, because some of these properties that are covered they're nowhere near the water. But right now, this
Right now,
property is, so
yeah.
you have to consider whether or not this would be consistent with these policies.
Okay, now, under normal circumstances or prior circumstances, we would table it until zoning makes their determination on a variance. So we can't table it at this point because we want to set,
They need this first.
They
Yeah.
need this first
Yeah.
for the zoning board to be able to take action.
and then they take their action. So we
Correct.
do our part, and they
Yes.
do their part. Okay.
Correct. So you good? Okay.
I'll move for town staff to prepare a resolution making a recommendation that it's consistent with the LWRP.
So you want town staff to prepare a letter?
Yeah.
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 Second.
Kanauer,
Kanauer, aye.
Daly,
Daly, aye.
McCooey,
McCooey, aye.
Tidings.
Tydings, aye.
Hopefully, we won't have another one of those for a while.
Oh,
Yeah.
just wait.
But now we know how to do it.
Maybe by then they'll make the area smaller.
We're going to have another waterfront assessment form with the first public hearing application, so won't be long.
Okay.
But at least there's an application.
But at least there's an application. It's for greater development. It's not, it is fully vested with the planning board. Okay, so new business item number 2, 2221 Penfield Road parking lot lights. Typically, the installation of parking lot lights wouldn't trigger planning board review. However, the code in 257.17, the lighting section specifically states that within the 250-441 overlay district, lighting is subject to the approval of the board having jurisdiction. Staff made the determination that the planning board is the board to have jurisdiction over this review. The applicant there is proposing 2 14-foot light poles with down-facing lights. We provided a cut sheet for it. They are requested by the applicant to have additional lighting in the evening, especially during the wintertime, for staff to be able to exit to their vehicles. The proposed lighting is 14 feet in height. We'll have dimmers to provide greater control of lighting output and extra dimming during overnight or to be able to turn off on the overnight hours after the business is closed. The additional regulation in the 250-441 overlay district is that the maximum height is 20 feet. The 14 feet is well below that, and it's much lower than the 30 feet in general that the planning board design guidelines recommends as the maximum height for freestanding parking lot light. Proposing one in the front facing 441. There's no, staff has no significant concerns with that one. It's facing a road that has its own street lights. On the rear side, as part of the expansion of that business back in about 2016, with the addition of the rear parking lot, a large berm that is heavily vegetated with arborvitaes, viburnum, and Norway spruce was installed to provide a visual and light buffer from vehicle headlights that is fairly heavily vegetated and provides significant buffering to the neighboring residential properties. Overall, staff has no concerns with the proposed lights. For this action, we would just need a general vote of the board for approval. It's not being reviewed under site plan or subdivision
Okay.
review. There's just this weird caveat that the board has to review lighting as an approval item.
And do we know the approximate height of that berm that's back there?
I believe it's 3 or 4 feet high. And it was vegetated on top. Double check. is about 6 feet, 246 feet.
Okay. And you said these would be dimmed or turned off when the business closes?
Correct.
Okay. So really, the only impact would be basically the winter months?
Correct.
Okay. Okay, anyone else?
Motions for me.
Nope.
Okay. I'll make a motion to approve.
Tydings, second.
Kanauer,
Kanauer, aye.
Daly,
Daly, aye.
McCooey,
McCooey, aye.
Tydings.
Tydings, aye.
All
Okay.
right, that was all the work session items I had for the board.
Okay, so with that, we will move into the applications and the public hearing. So Doug, if you want to read number 1.
All right, application number 1, BME Associates, 800 Parker Hill Drive, Suite 100, Rochester, New York, 14625, on behalf of Tia and Eric Olivas, requests under Chapter 250, Article 11-11.2 and Article 12-12.2 of the Code of the Town of Penfield for preliminary and final subdivision and site plan approval for proposed 3-lot single-family residential subdivision on 5.81 acres located at 1573 Creek Street. The proposal describes and provides access, sewer, and water service to Lot 1 from Creek Street and access, sewer, and water to Lots 2 and 3 from Tufa Glen Drive cul-de-sac. The property is at 1573 Creek Street, now formerly owned by Tia Olivas, and zoned residential R120, application 26P-0011, section block lot 108.11-1-75.2.
Welcome.
Evening. My name is Eric Olivas, and my wife and I own the property, 1573 Creek Street. That is the application tonight for the 3-lot subdivision. We have been looking for our own piece of property to build our own individual home on for a number of years, and we were delighted to know that this piece of property was available. We did hear that it had been for sale for quite some time, so we were very happy to know that it was still available. We've also heard rumors that in the past some developers had looked at the property, and we realized that zoning may require for or may allow for a greater density, but that's not really what we're looking for. This is going to be our own personal property. We're trying to minimize the long private driveway with just individual access to each property. So it's something that we're excited about. We hope to build our own house on Lot 3, the one towards the rear, and retain the other 2 parcels in hopes that one day our kids want to live that close to us. So that's our purpose. Just wanted to give the board a little bit of background information. I'll turn things over to Mike from BME Associates for any of the technical information or questions that the board has.
Okay.
Evening, I'm Mike Bogojewski with BME. Behind me, you'll see Nick Pinty from our office, too. He'll work on this, on the subdivision plans. Like Eric had mentioned, we're requesting preliminary final subdivision approval for the proposed 3-lot subdivision. The property itself is just under 6 acres, 5.8 acres. And it's zoned R120. Like Eric had mentioned, the 3 lots all have been laid out to meet the R120 zoning standards. They're, I call them fairly large lots. The Lot 1 is 0.9 acres, just under an acre. Lot 2 is 1.3 acres, and then Lot 3, which would be proposed for Eric and Tia's house, is just around 3.5 acres. The property itself has access, right-of-way access to Creek Street, and then it also has access to the Tufa Glen right-of-way on the south side. So Lot 1, what we proposed for Lot 1 is it would just have a new driveway access onto Creek Street through the flag portion of the lot, and then lots 2 and 3 would just be accessed from the Tufa Glen cul-de-sac. If you look at the aerial photo on the screen there's an existing town sanitary pump station with a portion of a stone drive already existing that kind of would also kind of be, serve as a good location for the 2 driveways to come in and split off to Lot 2 and 3 to the east and to the west. As far as infrastructure, it's fairly straightforward. Water and sanitary exist along Creek Street, so Lot 1 can just extend a water service and a sanitary service. Lots 2 and 3, there's an existing sanitary main that runs almost through the middle of the property, north-south, that can serve lots 2 and 3 with sanitary. And after reaching out to the Water Authority, there are water mains on Creek Street to the north along Graham Creek and Tufa Glen. So we've looked at providing lots 2 and 3 water services off of the Tufa Glen water main stub. So the existing right-of-ways and utilities kind of serve this property already. So there's really minimal infrastructure to be installed, just the services once the houses get built. The one thing that our subdivision plans show is a proposed 30 by 40 barn on Lot 3. That's something that Eric wanted to propose. So with the site layout for Lot 3 as well. And then that, if you're looking at the screen there, Lot 2 is accessed with an easement with the portion of driveway through there. Grading wise, it's very minimal. The site is fairly flat for I would call it the eastern portion. So any kind of grading is really necessary just for the house once the house construction is underway. There's not a whole lot of grading that would be required, only just to put the driveways in and for the house construction itself. Looking at the rest of the property to the west, once you get to the west, the rear of Eric's house on Lot 3, the property does drop off to the west, and there are mapped town EPOD or steep slope EPOD areas and woodland EPOD areas, but we've really tried to stay out of those areas. It's not conducive to the proposed house location itself, but it'll be part of the Lot 3 itself. There's really no grading proposed within that steep slope EPOD area, and then just a little bit of minimal clearing for the rear yard for Eric's house on Lot 3. And we tried to reflect that on the subdivision plans, on the proposed plans itself. That's the rough layout of the 3 lots. We did receive PRC comments. A lot of them are fairly straightforward. We were able to provide the town written responses and then went ahead and provided the revised plans already as well. And then, like Doug mentioned, one of the comments in the PRC memo was the LWRP area. Town staff let us know that it's within, this property is also within that mapped area. But going down through the checklist of that LWRP form, there's really no effect that was identified on that form. This property is well away from the bay itself. With that, happy to answer any questions the board has. I know Eric can help answer any questions as well.
Okay, thank you. Just, you had mentioned that there's no variances anticipated.
No variances are anticipated, correct?
The proposed barn, what's the distance from the barn to Lot 2?
It is just over 50 feet
Okay.
to the Lot 2 lot line. Yep.
Okay. Okay, Terry?
Just got one question. Construction, once you guys start on that, where you enter, exit, where will most of the trucks be coming?
Well, for Lot 3 for their house, it would have to come off of Tooth Glen. Lot 1 construction from Creek Street would just be for that house construction, I would imagine, so. But there's really, it's minor, I would call it minor. It's not a lot of infrastructure development that it would be considered for a subdivision road or anything like that. It's mainly just the driveway and utility, like the laterals for the house and then the house construction itself. And minor grading around the house.
That's it for right now.
If there's any sheets for speaking.
Is it possible to see a view
To speak on this application. Okay.
on the map of where this is in relation to the waterfront?
Yeah.
So the highlighted parcel there is where the proposed development is, and this is the south end of the bay there, so. looking at-
Thank you. Did you mention when you anticipated construction starting on the residence on Lot 3?
For Lot 3, as soon as possible.
Okay.
Lots 1 and 2, what are you anticipating for that?
I don't have any kind of timeline. Right now, our intent is to just retain those lots with no immediate action planned at the moment.
Okay, we may come back, the board may have more questions, but I will open this up for public comment. There was one slip from Rick Vaughn that didn't identify a project. Okay, come forward, please. And if you could,
Changed things over the years. We used to have the podium over here, and just the group over here, and this was just all different. Completely.
change all the time.
I know, they say change is good, some.
So if you could state your name and address?
Yes. Am I on or not?
Yes.
Okay. My name is Rick Vaughn. I live at 72 Tooth Glen Drive. And I have a few concerns I've been thinking about the whole week. I'm not for or against either way, but they're just thoughts that I have that no one may have thought of in the future. The future meaning winter months. There's plowing. Every couple of years, the new homes that were built in the second field, which is near the woods, it's a private road. They pay a private plow service to take care of that road. My concern is that we may have some issues down the road. Number one, in the wintertime, when the plow comes down, they definitely plow all of us in. Now, according to what I saw on one of the views, that area where the pump station is, there's also a fire hydrant there as well. And then you have the neighbor's lot, which is across the street from me, but they're on the same side with that particular pump station and the fire hydrant. My concern is, I've been out there, I didn't want to throw a tape measure out and come in here with all sorts of measurements, but I am concerned about that particular area as being the driveway in and out for their house. And if they build more homes, where is the exit actually going to be for those homes? And then we've got the private road, which is separated by kind of a ditch, which would need a bridge to go across into the private road if the private road was to be used for entering and exiting from those homes. These are just concerns that bother me, because I know how it is in the wintertime, and I know how it is right now in the summertime, that I'm worried that driveway, if they bring it out to where the pump station is and that fire hydrant, they're not going to have a whole lot of space to pull in and out. It could be very easily hit the fire hydrant, or it could end up on the neighbor's lawn as well. It may look large, but it's not the size of a double driveway. It's somewhere close to about a single driveway. And again, like I said, I think it's great that we've got neighbors. I've met them. They're great people. And I don't want to cause them any problems, especially tonight. It's important. But I wanted to bring these to the board as concerns, because we have to take care of that fire hydrant. And a number of times that the town has to come down to unplug that pump station, there are two great big steel doors that have to be accessed. The truck comes in there, has to hook up on a winch and lift each of those doors up. That truck comes in to where that stone part of the road is that they're talking about. The town has to have access to that. If they bring the driveway out there, that driveway could get damaged, or it could cause a problem for the town to be able to come in there and do whatever maintenance needs to be done on that pump station. That's really my only concerns that I wanted to voice.
Okay. Thank you, Rick.
Thank you.
Donald Weller?
Yes, sir.
If you want to come up to the mic and give us your name again and address.
I'm Donald Weller. I live at 73 Tufa Glen. I've had the privilege of meeting both Tia and Eric, and I think they're wonderful people and would make wonderful neighbors. Unfortunately, there's going to be access on Tufa Glen by construction vehicles, which is going to be coming up and down. One of the reasons that we bought the property that we live at now is because it is a cul-de-sac, which we just had new neighbors move in a month ago, and they've got 3 little children. They bought it because of the cul-de-sac. There's going to be more traffic that's going to be concurred because of during the actual construction process, but also afterwards when there's going to be just regular traffic that Tia and Eric are going to have to concur. We have a deer population that lives on the property that Eric and Tia both bought. I know it might sound foolish to some, but we have taken great pride in having these deer. We have quite a, well, I guess you call it a herd. They're going to be disrupted. They have been already, and that's bothersome, but more so, not that I want to throw the deer under the bus, but the traffic is going to increase. And during the time that the building is going to go on, there's going to be mud on our road. It's not going to be a mess. We just finally, after 3 years of discussing things with, his name used to be Eric. He was with the town, with the highway department, I guess. Now it's Bob Moore. Finally, we got the street to be stoned, and it looks good. You know, it's not a mess. If Eric can tell me that this is not going to happen again, he's got my full graces, but I can't see it. And there again, what do we do with the children that are living there now? We didn't have any children. I mean, when Halloween came along, you didn't get any ding-dongs. Now we got 3 kids next door, and I know that they're upset about this. They couldn't make it tonight, unfortunately. And the last thing in the world is I want to leave a sour taste in the mouth of Eric and Tia. They're nice people. They have a dream to build that house there, but this all can be solved if they access it from Creek Street. Come down Creek Street, build a street, a road going down to lot 2, 3, and 1, I guess. Then that way it doesn't bother the cul-de-sac. It doesn't cause additional traffic from construction vehicles or private vehicles, individuals. I see that as a rectify. And I don't know why that hasn't been brought up. Why is that? Is there anybody here that can answer that?
Well, we're still reviewing the application, so that's why we're getting input, and the application at this point is not complete. So
I understand.
we're
now.
in the process.
Okay. But that would be my recommendation.
Okay.
It would not disrupt, well, it would disrupt up the deer population, but I guess they can move. But other than that, that would solve the problem of disrupting the cul-de-sac. The cul-de-sac would remain the way that it is now. And that's all I have to say.
Okay. Thank you, Donald.
Thank you.
Bob, could I jump in for one more minute?
Well, we'll go through the rest of the folks that have filled out these, and then,
I don't
yeah,
mean to be stepping on toes, I just wanted,
yeah,
there's one thing that what Don brought up.
okay, You know, we don't want to be redundant. If it's something new that's come to mind, that's fine.
I just wanted
Okay.
to add to what Don had said.
Okay, next person, Louise Liacona. Hello.
So I live on Graham Creek Heights, the private road, and, you know, our neighbors are all very close, and we've all been very concerned about this property being built on. And, you know, it's been bought, and from what I've heard, they're going to be very nice homes, I would assume, from what I've heard. And hopefully it's only 3, that's what it's allocated for, correct?
Correct.
So my concern is the nature. I hope they take into consideration, it backs up to Forever Wild, and in my backyard, it's designated as a Forever Wild, like my woods I cannot build on, which I didn't want to, but I'm just saying I don't know what's designated as Forever Wild down there. I'm sure their landscape architect will have that all planned out, and I'm just hoping that they take into consideration how much we enjoy the wildlife there. I go out and see my June bugs every summer in their property. And the deer are overpopulated. So I just hope they take into consideration the nature. That's really all I have to say.
Thank you. Sharon Babbitt.
Okay, my husband and I are here, and we live on Graham Creek Heights, and it's my family that developed the property. We bought the 30 acres from the Heisler family. They had the horse farm, and got to know them because we boarded horses there, my brother and I. But we bought the property because it's so incredibly beautiful. We have a creek along the north side of the houses that are now built on Graham Creek. And there are a lot of deer that will kind of spend a lot of their time in the creek and the steep slopes. So while you're concerned about the deer population, I think they're going to find, their place a little deeper in the woods, and there's a huge amount of connecting woods you can see on this map, the large part that's, it actually goes right down to Empire Boulevard. There's a huge amount of undeveloped land that will be where they will make their new homes. But I'm wanting to address some of the concerns of the gentleman that is on Tufa Glen Drive and Mr. Vaughn, I think, who is he's on that street. There's really not any noise from the private road that we put in 1980, and originally it was just a stone road back to the log home that was built on the far west property, and eventually we did pave it because it's a much better situation to remove snow from pavement than from stone that kind of gets off in the grass and so forth. But the road is very well maintained, and it's beautiful. We're about to reseal it for the first time since it was put in. That's going to be done this month. But I don't think I mentioned that my husband and I bought the house that was adjacent to the road coming in to Graham Creek. We owned that back in the mid-1970s because we just always wanted to, have all the access possibilities and things to develop this land. I think we've respected the habitat and the deer, all of the wildlife, and that's part of the allure for everyone in the subdivision that we developed. And I think the application with only 3 lots that Eric and Tia have made is excellent. You know, there were fears that we had that someone might want to come in and put, 10 houses in there, which would have been a very different kind of a neighborhood than what they are going to be contributing to. So we are in support of it, and we think that the one lot that will come in off of Creek Street, it makes a lot of sense. These utilities are expensive to bring in, and to bring from Creek Street back to that first lot is advantageous for their costs, and the other 2 houses will have the short distance from the cul-de-sac for the utilities to be brought back. There are, when we had the approval for Graham Creek, the board said that we would not be able to have any more than the number of houses in our subdivision added to our private road. So one of the gentlemen said, why can't they come in, from Graham Creek? We have a private road. We spend a lot of money to maintain it, shovel it, all the rest. And by the way, the snow plowing is done by one of the neighbors with a pickup truck. It's not a big, heavy-duty plow. It's very quiet. Peter Keynes does it. He's excellent. He does it, at an early time, so all the people, and we have some physicians and people in our neighborhood that have to get out very, very early in the morning, so it's always well-maintained, summer and winter and all the conditions that we have. Trying to think if there was anything else that I wanted to bring up about their concerns, but, I think the fire hydrant that's on the cul-de-sac, that and the other sanitary pump station that's there, they're not a problem, for those to be maintained, and for the road to come in for the 2 houses, the one that will be built by Eric and Tia, and then the other one that they'll find someone to buy and build it out. That's a very low density for development, affecting any of the habitat or the other neighborhoods that have been there on Tufa Glen Drive. So I think it's an excellent proposal, and we support it, and we're going to welcome them to the neighborhood. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, is there anyone else that would like to speak to this application that hasn't already had input? Okay, Mr. Vaughn, would you like to come back up?
Sorry to take up more time.
No
I
problem.
know you've got plenty of things to get to, but just a quick story. When I was 4 years old, we lived in Arundecoit, top of Empire Boulevard, a lot of side streets back. One of them is Windham Road. That's where I grew up at 4 years old. Had a dog. Dog dug under the fence. I followed the dog under the fence and was out on the town at 4 years old with my dog. It got to be late in the day, and I remember this probably because of the tragedy and for the reason why I'm now able to sit here and talk to you. I was crossing the street to get to the other sidewalk on the side of where my house would be, the street would be. And the dog was always with me. And as I looked both ways and didn't see any traffic, and it was around 5 o'clock, and I could see a lot of traffic picking up at the intersection, I went across the street when it looked clear. And then I heard a sound, and I stopped, and I looked to my left, and here's this car coming at me, doing probably 40, 50 miles an hour, not slowing down, not trying to go around me, nothing. And I just froze. And all of a sudden, I felt something hit my back hard, caused me to roll over to the other side of the road, got up, looked across the street, saw the car was still going, probably doing 60 by then, and my dog was laying there dead. My dad knew what that meant. He did not want us living there anymore. He wanted to find a place like Tufa Glen where the circles are the end of each street. I went with him when I was 4 years old. They had just started framing the home that I was in, the home that my dad was going to buy. My dad was in the war. He was an officer in the war. He dealt with a lot of things, but one of the things that concerned him was me. He knew if we didn't move to basically a dead end, that I would eventually get hit by a car or something would happen to me. So he went and found the realtor, bought the house sight unseen, basically. I've been living there for 69 years. And originally, Bart Mamone Sr., who lived across the street from me, wanted to buy that land, the land that you're talking about tonight, to build the homes on. At that time, he was told that only one house could be built on that land, and it had to set back near the gully that's been brought up already. And I also brought it up to the people that are trying to build their home there now. I'm concerned. I don't want that driveway coming out onto Tufa Glen. And I look across the street and I see the little kids playing from the new people that just moved in. I'm not good with names, so excuse me for saying people. But I do look out and I do see them, and sometimes I see them supervised and sometimes I don't, and that concerns me. And that also concerns me that this area by the pump station, by the fire hydrant, is narrow and something could happen, and I don't want to see that area opened up at all. And if you build more homes, those homes have to have a way out as well. And they can't be putting in 3 more homes, a total of 4, with how many cars and how many people coming in and out. As Don Weller said, the traffic is going to increase. And I believe he's absolutely right. And that's all I'm going to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. Yes, sir.
I have a very quick question. My name is Rick Schumacher. I live on Graham Creek. You can't tell the details of what is going to be built, but it looks like there's an attached garage. And if that's the case, I'm wondering, what is this 30 by 40-foot building to be used for? That's a separate building.
We can ask that question. Thank you. Yes. right?
It's Don Weller, yes.
Yes.
It's my understanding that Eric and Tia are developers. They own, I believe it's Crosstown Builders. I can't believe that they're going to build one house on that property. And if there's going to be access from Tufa Glen, that's only going to increase that traffic pattern much more. And like I said, I met the folks for a brief moment. I hate like hell to rain on their parade, but that parade is also our parade. And we purchased that property because of what Rick said. It is 3 individual cul-de-sacs, and we take pride in them as being safe. And I think that the safety factor would be eliminated if there's access from Tufa Glen. Access from Graham Creek obviously is out of the question, but access from Creek Street, it's a viable alternative, and that's all I have to say about that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, no one calling in. So at this point, Eric, Mike, do you have any comments at this point based on some of the public input?
Is there anything specific that the
No,
board
I'm
would
just
like us to
throwing
address?
that out there. If, it's, at this point, it's pretty, it's pretty preliminary, so.
Understood. There were a couple comments that I can just touch on quickly for the just for the board. One of the PRC comments was to look at providing some protection for the pump station, and then we did reach out to Mike O'Connor, had a quick discussion. Our thought was to coordinate with the town DPW to see if there are any improvements that would be needed. Just because the single driveway that comes out near the pump station doesn't hinder access at all. But we just want to make sure that the town DPW, it works for the town DPW, so that way when they do have to get to the pump station, there's nothing really, it still works for them at the end of the day.
Okay.
So that was our thought. We'll continue to coordinate, and then if there are any revisions, we'll get those on future revised plans. As far as the access to lots 2 and 3, the single driveway cut off of Tufa Glen provides the most efficient point of access for those 2 lots, allowing Lot 1 to maintain a driveway onto Creek Street. That really keeps the driveways for lots 2 and 3 accessing the closest right-of-way instead of having to do single shared access for 3 lots, which gets a little bit more cumbersome when you have 3 separate owners sharing a single driveway access. So in this case, it gets it down to 2 lots off a single access with Lot 1 off of Creek Street. Traffic-wise, we're really only looking at cars from 2 single-family houses, and there's no changes to the Tufa Glen right-of-way, and it really only maintains 1 driveway curb cut onto the cul-de-sac. There really is no other changes to that cul-de-sac area except for once you get into the proposed site, and then it splits to go to Lot 3, Eric's house, and Lot 2. So from a site layout standpoint, it was the simplest and most straightforward way to provide a driveway to those 2 lots. So just a quick a quick input for those few comments. That was really the big comments that I had heard from the neighbor comments. So, but if there are any other questions, just
Okay.
Feel free.
Anyone else on the board?
Isn't that the water authority that does the pump station?
No, the pump station's owned by the town of Penfield. It's for sanitary sewers. It's separate from the Monroe County Water Authority, which controls the hydrant and the water mains.
Bob, I do have a couple of questions.
Sure.
On the Woodland EPOD, this is as much to Doug and town staff. My understanding based on the application is it's below the threshold for actually needing a Woodland EPOD permit. Okay.
Yeah, so the threshold's half an acre. They're proposing less than a quarter of an acre, about a quarter of an acre.
Okay. With, I guess to me, in looking at the site plans, especially for Lot 3, to me, it seems like you could completely avoid any impacts whatsoever to the Woodland EPOD if you shifted things further to the east. And whether it's getting closer to the barn, moving the barn closer to lots 1 and 2, or shifting lots 1 and 2, that to me just seems like it's an easy way to avoid any impacts whatsoever to that EPOD. And I at least wanted to flag that concern. The other question I had relates to utilities. So the this is hypothetical. Could you tap into the laterals for lots 2 and 3 from like Tufa Glen without actually extending the road? Meaning, theoretically, road access from Creek, but the laterals from Tufa Glen. Is that feasible?
Feasibly, yes. Yeah.
Okay. That's it for now.
Just because the sanitary sewer for lots 2 and 3, it's basically coming from within the site, not even, and it's internal to the site. And then there's basically Monroe County Water Authority water main on 3 sides of the site. We're not going north just because it disturbs the Graham Creek driveway, but the Tufa Glen water main stubs out basically at the property line, and then lot one, it makes the most sense just to extend it to Creek Street.
Got it. Thank you. That's all I have for now.
No questions?
Okay. Okay, thank you, gentlemen. I will call the public hearing on this application closed, and we'll move on to number 2.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Very much.
All right, application number 2, Toth Associates, 1070 West Sycamore Street, Springfield, Missouri, 65810, on behalf of Brew Team NY LLC, requests under Chapter 250, Article 12-12.2 and Article 13-13.2 of the Code of the Town of Penfield for preliminary and final site plan approval and a conditional use permit to construct a 510 square foot pre-manufactured building with a 388 square foot remote cooler storage structure and associated site improvements for a 7 Brew coffee drive-through stand on the north portion of the parcel at 2130 Fairport 9 Mile Point Road, Fairport, New York 14450. The properties now are formally owned by Carey Ventures, Fairport 9 Mile Point Road LLC, and Zone General Business GB. Application 26P-0012, SBL 140.01-2-4.1. This is a lease lot, /PERK, since it was the Perkins lease line.
Welcome.
Good evening. My name is Doug Beachel. I'm Director of Entitlements for Brew Team New York LLC. We are a franchisee of 7 Brew Coffee. We are proposing another 7 Brew location in town of Penfield. Our other is located on Empire Boulevard, where the Chili's was, near Baytown Plaza. That's under construction. The building's arrived, paving tomorrow, and we're planning on opening around July 13th. So just FYI, so you can kind of get an idea of what one of these looks like if you venture up there. So for this particular site, we are leasing a portion of the site, the northern sliver, and 7 Brew I mean, the board is familiar, but just a quick update. So 7 Brew is a drive-through only coffee concept. It's a 510 square foot building with a 338 square foot cooler storage structure next to it. Both the building and the cooler storage structure, along with the dumpster enclosure, are all clad in niche and some metal cladding, and they all match. Covering the front of the cooler, across the front of the building, and over the drive-through lane 1 and a portion of lane 2, is a canopy that extends across the front of the building. Our color is blue, so it's a blue canopy. So 2 drive-through lanes, queuing approximately 28 cars in these 2 lanes. Like I said, drive-through only. Our employees walk amongst the vehicles, much like Chick-fil-A, with mobile devices, iPads, taking orders. And then once you reach the front of the queue under the canopy, our employees come out of the building and serve you your beverage through your car window. Again, we're drinks only. We do offer a prepackaged muffin top. That's our only food. So we don't do any cooking. We don't run gas to these buildings. It's all electric. Menu consists of smoothies, iced coffees, energy drinks, shakes, things of that nature. There's multiple iterations. There really isn't a menu. It's sort of a social media construct that people come up with things regionally, and that's kind of what becomes popular. This building would be exactly like the other one, with the signage on the front. We have signs on both sides, one side of the building, and then on one side of the cooler. Well, two 7 Brew signs on both sides of the building, and then we have directional signs on the side of the cooler and the other side of the building. We have applied for a variance for our signs, much like we did on the other one, to have more than one sign. We would not propose a pylon sign in this district, as they are, I believe, not allowed, but also we don't indicate that we need one. And we also are in front of the Zoning Board of Appeals for a side yard variance. If you look at the north side where our canopy, you can't really see it, it's kind of tough here, but right sort of where the S and stop is, that second lane, is the dash line that indicates where our canopy extends. It's a 20-foot side yard setback. We are at 13.77 feet, so we're asking for approximately 6.25 foot side yard variance to accommodate our canopy. Our structure is 27 feet away from the property line. Actually, I believe, that's the lane width. So our actual structure is further away, so it's just the canopy that's within that side yard setback. I think that sort of covers just the general consensus on what the project is. So, any questions at this time? Anything else you would like me to cover?
Sure. Matt, maybe I missed it, but of the total lease parcel, how much does that cover? So it's the north end of the lease parcel? That number, the project footprint for us is 0.64 acres. Okay.
The total acreage is 1.49 acres.
Total acreage of the parcel?
So what is it, 33, about 33%?
I'm sorry?
Is it about 33% if I'm doing my math right?
Okay.
Roughly.
Yeah, I just wanted to kind of calibrate, knowing about how big that lot is.
And also, knowing that the southern portion of that parcel is right behind me on the agenda. So
Right.
we are starting to have further discussions on sharing stormwater and things of that nature. So they're really two separate projects, but one parcel and kind of both on their own path individually, however, collectively needing some design criteria to match up.
Yeah, just so people are clear that parcel, call it a lease parcel, where where Perkins was, and I think it was the Cornerstone. With 7 Brew, they would be occupying and leasing one portion of that lot, and then the next application for, I think it is a dine-in restaurant that we're going to hear tonight as well. That will be on the remaining part of that parcel, but it would be 2 leased lots. Okay. Johnna?
Thank you. I have some questions about your signs. You talked about the signs on the building and you're applying for a variance there. Are you proposing any signage on the road or near the entrance?
No, no. Really, our building signage is adequate for what we need. So we do have some small directionals like you see in quick service restaurants, and those are both located in the rear of the parcel near the entrance and exit, where sort of back where the dumpster is. But other than that, our building is our sign.
Thank you. In relation to where this building will be on the parcel, will the entrance to the drive-through be, you enter off of 250 onto a private road and then into the parcel? Will you enter in the, but there are 2 curb cuts. Are you proposing any new curb cuts, and will you use one or both for your development?
So ingress egress from 250 would be through the existing curb cut next to Splash Car Wash.
Okay.
We're proposing nothing, we're not proposing anything new off of 250. Our entrance and exit to our site are in the rear, basically right where the mouse is, that would be the entrance to our 2 drive-through lanes. You would come through around the building in the front and then exit through the single lane back out to that rear road. And that also does go out to 441.
And you won't have any signage on 441?
No.
Directing entry there. Thank you. How about you mentioned the other restaurant. I know that you can't answer that, so maybe this is a question for Matt and Doug. Is the other proposed restaurant, will there be a drive-through there?
There appears to be a window or opportunity, but it does not define it, I believe, as a drive-through.
But we're not talking about like shared drive-through lanes for these 2 restaurants?
The way they have it proposed, there will be shared access, so as you can see on the, right there, that will connect on unfortunately, that outline doesn't exactly match what they're proposing on the south side. I think it's probably either an older rendering or it's part of it's showing the former Perkins setup, but that access will be available and connected to the proposed development on the south side. So there will be shared access. They, on that development, show that as 2-way access up, so there is the potential that somebody on the other one could exit out that way if they wanted to, instead of going out to the access drive closer to 250.
Thank you.
For what it's worth, the plans for the next application show that as a mobile pickup window.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it does not appear that there is an ordering box or any way. There's a queuing and a drive-through sort of, but there's no like order box or for like placing a drive-through order. It looks like it's exclusively for if you were to purchase through the mobile app you drive up to the window, grab, and go.
Thank you. I saw your traffic study. Thank you for providing that. And the summary was there was no notable significant impact from a traffic perspective. My question really is for staff. Is that study coordinated with the impact of the other proposed use on the parcel? And if so, do you agree with that assessment? Is an additional
I believe there's only,
traffic
at this
study.
point, considers their site. That was a comment of staff, is that a lot of, and this is something from a seeker perspective, while they are two separate applications, you're going to have to look at the action holistically as one on the same property because there is so much interconnection between them. I believe the traffic study just takes a look at their own trip generation with some generic numbers for nearby properties as stand-ins. And it's going to be something the board has to consider is asking for them to provide or to coordinate to do either a single traffic study or to provide or to coordinate with each other on their proposed trip generations based on their what the IT manual would say, but also what they know about their individual developments. I know the other user isn't identified on the southern property yet. From my understanding, they're still, signing paperwork on that to finalize that. Depending on the user, that may change based on, they'll look at it, IT, they'll look at the generic numbers, but understanding what their actual use is and whether that changes things. The two should coordinate that so they have a single understandable impact between the two. We're going to have to do the same thing from a stormwater perspective as well. Both of these properties will drain to the same pond, existing pond on 2195. They're going to have to coordinate their stormwater so that the impacts aren't looked individually. Their impacts are combined on how that impacts in the existing facility, whether the facility needs to be upgraded, modified, changed, things like that. So we do have the traffic consultant that the town has on retainer, has reviewed it. He provided some initial comments for your review. I believe they're looking to do a full report and get that back to the board as soon as possible.
Thank you.
Quick question. I am confused on how traffic will flow in and out of the restaurant, I guess, the coffee place. So it'll go, is it a circle or is there a way out to the south?
It's a circle. There is a proposed cross-access, well, I guess we'll call it cross-access to the south where there is a curb line, but ultimately our design is 2 lanes coming in to the north, going counterclockwise around the front of the building and then out that single drive-through lane unless they had some reason to go to the neighboring parcel.
Okay, got it. Have you discussed that with the proposed tenant for the southern portion?
Yes. Yeah, that's been part of the negotiations in terms of lease discussions.
Got it. And who's responsible for maintaining the private drive both to 441 as well as to 250 from that parcel?
I don't know that that's fully fleshed out yet, to be honest. So really the developer property owner is sort of, leasing this to, at least I can only speak for what we're doing. We're leasing the portion of the property to the north, and then we basically would need the property owner to maintain that road since we don't have direct access to it from our piece.
Okay. Yeah, I've driven on it before, and it's...
Yeah, it's certainly in need of an upgrade.
I survived, but
Yeah.
that's all I have for right now.
Any of your other locations, is this normal for you guys to lease parcels from other places?
Yes. Generally, we're such a small user, or we need sort of minimal acreage compared to a traditional 2,500 square foot drive-through fast food place. So we carve out parcels often from plazas with existing, signalized intersections for access. So it's very common for us to lease
Baytown.
portions.
Excuse me, Baytown's your own location, right? You own that parcel?
No, we don't. We're leasing that
for
portion.
Baytown.
Yes.
But you're the only business, I should say, in that parcel.
Yes, on that one.
Yeah, 'cause it's a little bit different. When it comes to that, because I can see a few issues. So now, as far as like you say, maintaining the driveway, you're gonna be sharing that, so you gotta get that straightened out. What about lighting for your building? So you're just gonna do your lighting in your building? What about the parking lot lighting for your parcel?
Our parcel, we have a photometric light plan that was part of the package. Most of our lighting really comes from our building. At least if we talk about the front portion of the site, our canopy has soffit lighting underneath, because that's really the work area where the employees are coming in and out of both sides of that building. We have a blue LED light that traces and defines our canopy. That provides some lighting. Obviously, our signs are lit, but really, we typically have a single or double-headed light pole back by the dumpster, and then there is one midway through the parking field there that would light up that, or intermediary between the dumpster and our building. And then the parcel to the south would have their own lighting plan that would.
Seen the PRC comments? You have no issues with the PRC comments?
No, nothing. I mean, it was mostly, a lot of it was formatting and labeling, which my engineers are in Missouri, and they have a hard time understanding mailing addresses in town boundaries in upstate New York. So we're working on that. But yeah, I didn't have any. I mean, a lot of the PRC comments would reflect basically working with our neighbor on a combined stormwater plan.
And like snow plowing, like you said, garbage pickup, things of that nature. It's all separate.
Yeah, it's all separate. So, I mean, there could be an opportunity we use the same vendors, but we would contract with our own vendors for refuse and recycling pickup and snow plowing.
And your local, main offices are local, or?
Our main office is in Binghamton, but we have regional operations managers that live locally. So there's one that lives in Rochester. We're opening, well, we're trying to open 100 this year. So, we have multiple. We're building a critical mass in Rochester, so we have enough in this area. We have one open in Greece, one open in Brockport. We just opened Canandaigua. The other Penfield will open in a couple weeks. We're starting Monday in Henrietta. Irondequoit, got a couple in process. So there's a staff being built that will maintain these and be local.
So like any issues they came up with this parcel, they would call you Binghamton, or would we get a hold of the owners of the property that own the parcel?
No, it would be first level would be our store manager, and then, there would be a regional director that oversees the Rochester market, and they typically handle, sort of property management issues for a market. So they'd have Rochester, and there's another individual in Syracuse, Albany, et cetera. So.
It's quite impressive. I've seen you guys, your other places, Baytown, obviously. So I don't know about this setup here, but we'll deal with that as we go along. I'm good right now. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Doug. We will open this up for public input. Donna Spinelli.
Hi, my name is Donna Spinella. I live at 39 Scarborough Park. I am not here in some sort of adversarial role, but I am, as some of you who know me, a very engaged citizen and a resident who has questions about some of this and some concerns, and I imagine that my concerns and questions are probably shared by other members of our community. So my comments and questions are offered for your consideration as a board. My remarks are going to address three primary topics. First, the business impact of 7 Brew. Secondly, the traffic safety of the proposed location. And third, how this enterprise does or does not meet town priorities. First, in terms of the business impact, there are 4 other coffee-oriented chains within a very short distance of the proposed location, all of which have their own drive-through: Tim Hortons, Panera, Dunkin', and Starbucks. Those also have the benefit of serving food, and they have seating. So 2 questions. How does another provider of, in the case of 7 Brew, nothing but a beverage, coffee-oriented beverage, add diversity to our rather coffee-saturated area of town? Secondly, will 7 Brew simply cannibalize not only these established franchises, but more critically, the only nearby local privately owned coffee shop, the Busy Bean? Frankly, it's hard to imagine that the 7 Brew under construction that was mentioned on Empire Boulevard is not going to draw business away from the only other local privately owned coffee shop in Penfield, LVO's, right down the road on Empire Boulevard. And to sort of put this in perspective for some folks who are listening who don't know, but 7 Brew is funded to the tune of approximately $140 million by Blackstone, the private equity firm. So they can afford to wait out their competition, and if a small company fails, well, sort of more business their way. Second major topic, traffic safety of the proposed location. This particular location near the intersection of routes 250 and 441 is already the most dangerous intersection in Penfield, with a crash rate considerably higher than average for similar intersections, according to the New York State Department of Transportation. And, anecdotally, almost anyone who frequently travels that road, those roads, that intersection, has probably witnessed near misses, if not flat-out accidents there. Secondly, a study of the Route 250 corridor done a while ago, and I think it's the most recent one, didn't account for the full increase in volume, not just from the commercial traffic like this, but from the hundreds and hundreds of residential units either built, approved, or proposed all along 250, starting practically from the Webster border all the way down. The alley that I think that Stephen referenced behind the fast food establishments on that east side of 250, south of 441, is basically a mess. It is full of potholes. It's got broken and deteriorated pavement, and it's got some really wacky curves to it as well. So even if it were paved, it's still a challenge. So while it might be a sort of a minor alternative route, it's inadequate in terms of capacity and maintenance at a minimum. Lastly, with respect to traffic safety, since 7 Brew is drive-through only with 2 drive-through lanes, the throughput of vehicles, presumably, is greater and more rapid than at nearby establishments that have seating and food, where not every customer has to go through a drive-through. Third major topic, Penfield Town priorities. The town has publicly announced a commitment to several key priorities, including significantly improving local traffic safety, creating a robust, active transportation plan, and maintaining community character. So 3 questions. How does a double drive-through only business on a heavily trafficked road square with the goals of improving traffic safety, especially in that dangerous area? Secondly, how does a business that is 100% dependent on vehicular traffic work toward encouraging the residents to walk, bike, use public transportation more, which is part of our active transportation plan? And this active transportation plan isn't just to get people moving in the community and not even just to ease congestion. It's also environmentally to help reduce tailpipe emissions. Thirdly, how does a business specifically designed in a way that patrons never interact with each other contribute to the sense of community, which is a very valuable element in fostering our community character here in Penfield? Thanks for your consideration. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Donna.
Okay.
Mike Curry?
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm here with some other folks from our neighborhood, so
Okay.
speaking kind of a little bit from my own standpoint. So Mike Curry, I live at 40 Braunston Drive, which kind of backs up to some of the property that we're discussing tonight.
Okay.
Specifically, our upstairs bedroom looks out at the car wash. A little bit over to the right, if I was looking, is probably the property that we're talking about here. We've lived in our home for about 30 years. We've had discussions like this in the past with some of the other business that's been developed. Probably the most recent being Burger King. I think the one that went in there a couple years back. So several things I wanted to at least ask tonight. Might not get the answers, but at least kind of talk through some of the concerns that we have is adding an additional business or two. And I appreciate the input from some of the others here as well, so just bear with me. Starting with, I guess, drainage and stormwater. So some of the folks from the town have been over at our properties recently. Mark Valentine. We were just trying to understand a lot of the water that's coming into our properties as it exists already. So that's an area of concern for us. Hours of operation. I think I just lost, maybe I didn't. The hours of operation. So today, although there's some professional buildings back there, some of the other buildings are open later at night, including Burger King. I think at the moment, besides a big red banner that I get to look at night, our friends thought it was a sunset, but it's not a sunset. It's the Burger King banner on top. I think that's still lit up late at night, perhaps 11, 12 o'clock. So hours of operation would be a concern for us. Overall lighting, what it looks like around the building or the complex. Sounds, noise from the operation, right, should be considered. Again, for us residents around the backside of that property, we would need to understand what type of sound or noise there might be. We understand some of these are open, later in the day, evening, night. Certainly like to understand what that is. In some cases, like with Burger King, we tried to understand what the smells might be like coming from theirs, as a neighbor. The traffic pattern, which we talked about a little bit earlier, long discussed, that little access road barrier that back in there is really in rough shape. That's nothing new. It's been that way for the longest time. I think the idea was whoever develops next will get the fun part of footing the bill for that. Good and bad, perhaps it gets cleaned up a little bit. The bad news is that's probably going to increase more traffic. People will probably choose to use it as a cut-through between 250 and 441, if you're familiar enough with that. Today, I think it's because it's in rough shape as it is. Most folks don't want to wreck their car or the suspension, so won't be doing that, but I would imagine if we're going to make that nice little access road back there nice,
I would imagine there's going to be increased traffic, not only for that, but certainly for any new business. Yeah, I think those are some of the current concerns that I have. Hopefully I've been clear with that. I know there are some other folks from my neighborhood that would like to share their concerns as
Sure.
well. Thanks.
Thank you, Mike. And one of your neighbors, Victoria Bobina.
Good evening.
Hi.
I live at 44 Bronston Drive with my parents and my 3 younger siblings. And I just want to talk a little bit more about what the likely impacts of further developing this area are likely to be based on the experiences that my family has already had and my neighbors have had with the development of the Burger King and the car wash behind my parents' properties and some of my neighbors. Since the Burger King and the car wash have opened, what we have seen is an unprecedented amount of, or like increase in the amount of noise pollution, light pollution, and just like odor and litter that we have seen from our properties. Because Burger King is open till 11 p.m., you have people that are going in the drive-thru and you can literally hear people ordering from like my parents' backyard, which is, you know, a good like maybe 200 feet away. I'm not really sure, but it's a significant enough difference that we still feel like we shouldn't hear those things, and yet we do. Again, there's still the issue of light pollution. Those lights are on till late at night, sometimes till midnight or later. My family, our neighbors, other people on the street, we have a lot of kids and also older folks who live there who tend to go to bed at an earlier time that are affected in their bedtime routines because of both of this noise and this light pollution. When the Burger King was being built, we had a lot of problems with noise from construction affecting my parents' ability to sleep because their bedroom window is right, you know, facing that Burger King and the car wash. So that's a concern that I have for the development of the 7 Brew, is that it's going to exacerbate both the light pollution and the noise pollution we already experience, but it's also going to affect more people who are living in our neighborhood who might be far enough away from the Burger King and the car wash to not have those issues, who suddenly are going to have them because of 7 Brew. As the developer already talked about, like, it's a drive-through based business. I can't imagine that it's going to be any like minimal difference in the amount of traffic that we're going to experience. We're going to have so much more both like tailpipe emissions going on that's going to go right into our backyards, and we're going to be experiencing that, you know, in our day-to-day. A lot of people have moved into my neighborhood because we used to have a very lush like forest right behind our yard, that because of that forest, we were able to be protected from the light pollution and the noise pollution of Fairport 9 Mile Point Road. Now we don't have that anymore. A lot of families, kids are being exposed to all of that when they suddenly weren't. It's just going to get worse with the 7 Brew. As Mike mentioned just now, with stormwater drainage, we've had some increasing concerns in the past couple of years with the development of both the Burger King and the car wash in the amount of stormwater drainage that goes into our properties after heavy rain. I've been living at my house for about 10 years, and when we first moved in, you know, we had a bit of like, you know, stormwater after raining. After the development of these 2 properties, we've had a substantial increase in how long and how much water stays within our backyard. That has been especially notable after the car wash. And as Mike mentioned, we've had people from the town board or from the town come and look at our properties and assess them and say that, you know, these businesses are in compliance with whatever the stormwater drainage requirements are, but we don't see that reflected in the actual conditions of our yards, and we're concerned that it's just going to get worse with the development of these new businesses.
again, I'm not really sure how the development of this business is going to substantially prove the town's commitment to allowing residents to have a good quality of life in their residences. I think that this is only going to make things worse for my family, for other people in my neighborhood. Those are just kind of my main concerns. I don't know if there's anything I need to clarify or...
No, we appreciate your input. Thank you. Okay, Ron Sokol.
Hi, my name is Ron Sokol, and I live at 41 Bronson Drive. Last week, my wife and I were out Canandaigua, and we stopped at Abbott's, and right next door was a brand-new 7 Brew. And what we found interesting, as we parked in the parking lot, they had music playing, and it was so loud, I could hear it. I must have been 500-600 feet away, sitting in my car. I don't understand how the business benefits from loud music. I would appreciate that there would be no music any time of the day. I sit outside in the morning with my coffee, and that place would be directly in line where I sit. So I probably would hear it. I think that's it. That's my biggest concern.
Okay. Thank you, Ron.
Yep.
Okay, anyone else? Come forward. Hi.
My name is Isabella Walters. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. I live at 42 Broxton Drive. So again, I'm in the direct line with all of the development, including the Burger King, Brew House, and anything else that they've built. What I noted in 2023, I had Penfield come out to look at my property because it was literally floating in water. Not just that the soil was soft. So I began to wonder, and even the people who do the maintenance on our lot wondered if we had a pipe break somewhere. I never did find out what the problem really was. Mark Valentine, who was your Penfield engineer at the time, this is 2023, and I also checked with the immediate neighbors to find out if they were actually finding that they had water that was standing. So the drainage problem is definitely my concern, and that roadway, I know you're pending to do some evaluations with it. In addition to that, I know that there's more developments coming. So as Victoria said, it's not enhancing my life or anyone's life that is living in that particular area. And Mark mentioned that they were going to look at the drainage that currently exists. One portion of it goes down to where the cul-de-sac is. The other one, there is actually a drain pond, and it's right near the brew house area. I have no idea, but they're going to do something with it. I don't know exactly what they're going to be done, but this drainage problem is not going away. And this time it's affecting more people. At the time I made the phone call in 2023, it was my property only, but it appears that it's related somewhat to the original construction, that the way the water is meant to come off each area, that makes the difference. So that's something that we may have to, as individuals or as collaborative effort, address doing something about the drainage on our own properties. But long before that, doing that, we have all seen now that all of the construction is contributing to this surge of water to different levels
on all of these 5 properties in particular. So something definitely needs to be done even before we consider putting another business up there, let alone 3 or 4, as well as the construction that will be related to ratify, to do something about a remedy for that road that runs behind these businesses. Not mentioned, currently, it's a shared entrance to get from 441 back to M&T, back to McDonald's, and it used to be to the restaurant. Meanwhile, because they said that's a private road, which I didn't realize it was a private road, definitely in need of work. But on a larger thing, it does appear that there does have to be some remediation done to the drainage system related to all of those businesses that currently exist and continue to be built, that arrangements had not already been considered to redo the actual drainage. I don't know enough about it to tell you that it needs to be done X and Y, but if you're adding to it and you're still trying to get that water or whatever water is made during the construction itself that you create, that something needs to be done to do a remedy to get that water off of that area. And it started really long ago, long before I was there. It's just that originally when I moved in, we had a duck pond. And now we don't have a duck pond. The duck pond's left, but the water came down more, and more properties are involved. So definitely there's a problem there. And I know Mark is on it, and I'm sure he has given notes to the town of Penfield on the most recent visit this year because of one of the neighbors who had extensive damage done to her yard, which did not take place when I called 2023. Her yard was fine. So I know it's moving along. And as Victoria said, it's not getting better. So definitely consider what's happening, not only that traffic problem and pattern, but it already is a problem, mentioning, I didn't even know the statistic, related to accidents. It's happening right now because of so many businesses that, first of all, they share that awful road. So something needs to be addressed very carefully when you consider putting another business there, no matter what it is, whether it's a brew house, a restaurant, a new business, something needs to be addressed with regard to that traffic pattern, the idea that drainage needs to be addressed. It's not adequate. But Mark, again, had said he was certainly noticing that possibly there needed to be some adjustments there, just based upon where the water is supposed to be going. Some is supposed to be going down to where the cul-de-sac, and some is supposed to be coming towards, directly towards 441. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else? Yes.
Good evening. I'm Albina Bubina, and Victoria is my daughter. Yeah, I would like to join in support of everything what has been said before me. And based on Mark's recommendation, the trees between our backyards, Elizabeth and mine, was removed. So, however, standing water is still present and appears to be even higher than it was before. It was not like a problem in the streets. So, and also I have a couple questions to the Penfield of board.
First one, it's what can be done to reduce trash from business behind our neighborhood. We are picking up garbage every 2 months, a couple bags of plastic cups, plates, everything like from. And yeah, also, can the town review Burger King's drive-through hours? Because it's till midnight, it's too much for our residents. So, also, are there no limits that apply to drive-through speakers because it's too loud? I can sit and listen everything what is going on by Burger King. So, yeah, that's my issues.
Okay, thank you. Okay, anyone else? Yes.
It's a small comment, but it has to do with her property. Very serious. So much water was coming down from the hill, she could actually see it draining down her property, where the line between my property and hers. On her property, the change is such that she could see it. Not only to that, it came in her basement window. So if something is wrong, it needs to be addressed. She didn't mention about the basement window, which I had note about, but the water's coming down the hill and it went in her basement window. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
You mentioned about the second business. It's a restaurant?
Yes, and that's on the agenda for tonight.
Oh, it is?
Yes.
I'm sorry. Oh, okay. The one other thing I want to mention about the water, I'm across the street, so it doesn't affect me, but in the back of Burger King, in that area, there is a separate little parking lot that has a drain in it, but the whole thing is sloped, and most of that water would just run down over that curb and into the land. That should be looked at. I don't know where that drain goes. I have no idea. That's-
Okay, yeah, that will be reviewed. Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, anyone else? Okay, Doug, do you have any closing comments? I did have one question, and maybe you addressed this earlier. Hours of operation?
Yeah, I was going to mention that.
Okay.
Can you hear me? This is working?
Yeah.
Okay, I can't tell. Our hours of operation are 5:30 till 10 Sunday through Thursday, and then we're open from 5:30 a.m. until, there we go, 11 on Friday and Saturday night. Also, just a couple of comments. Smells, we don't cook anything, so we don't really generate any odor. So there's no. What's that?
Do you roast coffee?
No, we don't. We're espresso based, so we don't actually have coffee. If you want a black coffee, we'd give you an Americano and water down an espresso. But 75% of our beverages are actually iced, not even warm. So from a smell standpoint, we're not broiling. like a neighbor might be. Also, yeah, so those are our hours of operation. We don't have a drive-through speaker, so there's not a menu board in a speaker where there's an employee talking through it. It's an employee engaging with the customer at their window. So typically that should be much lower volumes.
Is playing music part of the regular
We do
format?
have music, and probably, I would imagine, in Canandaigua, that was grand opening weekend. And we are
mandated really to stick to the noise ordinances, and if it was above that, then it could be mitigated and corrected. So we do have some exterior speakers just under our canopy. So really, they play music inside the building where the, for lack of a better term, well, where they're putting together the beverages, that's the kind of the high action portion of the project, or the employees. There's 3 or 4 in there that are running all the time. So, and then there's a couple of exterior speakers under that canopy right where you serve the beverages to the customers. But, need to maintain decibel levels appropriate in the zoning district. And then one more note that I wanted to just call the board's attention, because I spoke incorrectly. This plan does show a pylon sign, and that shouldn't be on here. So we will correct that. It's in front of the landscaping. It was probably our engineer just put it on there when they were doing the sign package, but that, in reviewing the code, I understood, I saw the neighbors, that, we really can't have pylons in this stretch. So it shows up on our site plan, and it's also on our striping plan, so I'll have that removed. No other comments at this time.
Okay, any other questions from the board? Okay, thank you, Doug. And I will call this public hearing for number 2 closed, and we will move on to number 3.
All right, public hearing item 3, DDS Engineering and Surveying LLP, 45 Hendricks Road, West Henrietta, New York, 14586, on behalf of Donahoe Management, requests under Chapter 250, Article 12-12.2 and Article 13-13.2 of the Code of the Town of Penfield for preliminary and final site plan and a conditional use permit to construct a 2,450 square foot quick service restaurant with outdoor patio seating and a mobile order pickup lane, along with other associated site improvements on the southern portion of the parcel at 2130 Fairport 9 Mile Point Road, Fairport, New York, 14450. The property is now or formerly owned by Carey Ventures Fairport 9 Mile Point Road LLC and Zone General Business GB, application 26P-0013, SBL 140.01-2-4.1/PERK.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Adam Colton. I'm with DDS. Here tonight on behalf of Donahoe Management. Before you, you have a site plan for a proposed quick service restaurant along Fairport 9 Mile Point Road. I know this is going to come up, so we might as well just address it right now. As Doug was saying earlier, the developer is currently in conversation with the anticipated tenant. Currently, there's nothing finalized yet, so right now we're just referring to it as quick service restaurant. So from a site plan standpoint, this is pretty straightforward. I'd like to just do a quick walkthrough through the plans, and then we can move on to some of the more detailed things that seem to be a recurring topic tonight. So we are utilizing the existing private drive that is on the site. We are proposing a new connection, however, so we'll be demolishing the existing curb cut, shifting it over so it's in line with where the car wash exits. Pulling around, there is a mobile order pickup window, so that is correct. This is not a drive-through. It is a order ahead, drive-through at your designated time for a pickup. So no speaker, no anticipated backup. It's you have your time to pick up. You're going to go through the mobile order pickup and then head out. From a utility standpoint, we are proposing a new hot box at the road at 250. This will house a backflow, which will service a combined water service for the site. This will connect to both the 7 Brew and this proposed quick service restaurant. We are proposing a new sanitary lateral, which will be connecting to the existing sanitary sewer running through the site, and then additional redeveloped stormwater. So to touch on the stormwater, we're currently working with the developer and 7 Brew, and we will be addressing all stormwater concerns for each site individually. So when I say that, I mean we'll be following DEC standards and Town and Penfield standards for water quality, runoff reduction, that type of thing, before outletting it off-site. And I know there were concerns in the PRC comments regarding that existing stormwater pond. We will actually not be tying into that pond at all. We will be bypassing it and going right to the existing swale after the pond. So that's the stormwater standpoint. I know the private drive repairs keep coming up. This L that's pictured on the screen here is under the ownership of the same developer, so that it's understood that will be repaired as part of the project. Off the top of my head, I'm not thinking of the other big topics, but I'm sure we'll get to it. So at this point,
Sticking with that access road, you said the L, is that the only portion they're going to repair? I think a lot of the comments are reflective of the whole access road that goes to 441 that is also in need of repair.
so that's the portion that they own. As seen on the GIS here, M&T actually owns that other spot, but that portion that will be heavily utilized by these two businesses is owned by this developer, and that will be repaired.
So is your business not leasing? Is your business also leasing part of the parcel, or this new business to be developed? Are they a lease tenant just like the other one?
Correct. It's 2 leases from the same developer who owns the parcel.
Okay, thank you.
Steve, Terry?
Yeah, let me jump in. So what is can you just, at a high level, tell me which way stormwater is draining from the part of the parcel you're planning to develop?
Sure. So we're on the southern portion of 2130 there. Stormwater will be collected via standard conveyance, so catch basins, storm pipes. It's pretty understood at this point that we'll be using underground storage chambers, just given the constraints of the site. And then we will be outletting northeast, and stormwater then continues north towards 441 Penfield Road.
Got it.
But all treatment occurs on site, and that's per DEC and Penfield standards.
Okay. As far as signage, I think I saw in the application you'll have typical signage. What does that mean?
If you saw typical, it's probably referring to, we used a numerical system on, it's probably the site plan that you were referring to.
It was in the application, the actual application where you were filling out how we satisfy all the site plan criteria.
Oh, off the top of my head, I'm not sure exactly what that's in reference to, but when we say typical, usually it means it's a repeating occurrence, and every time you see the repeated occurrence, it means that same thing. It would be easier if we could just go to the site plan real quick. Maybe I could point this out. So, for example, the sign at the end of the mobile order pickup window drive-through, there's the sign block right at the lot line with a 2 surrounded by a rectangle. That would basically mean sign 2 is typical. Every time you see a number 2, that means exit, for example. I think that one means exit. I'm not sure off the top of my head. I apologize.
Is that possibly what you were seeing?
Yeah, I'd have to look closer at the site plan. So, got it. So apart from those signs, are you planning for anything else for this quick service restaurant?
There would most likely be business signage on the building itself. And like I said before, we can't exactly talk about that yet. That being said, developer is still very anxious to get in here and have a conversation about it. So I understand that, we're missing a little bit of our, talking points here, but yes, there is most likely going to be signage on the building itself. Probably a similar setup to 7 Brew. But we can't exactly go into that right now.
Okay. And quick service restaurant, we don't know their hours at this point?
The anticipated tenants' hours are 11 to 11.
And have you guys, quick service restaurant as opposed to 7 Brew, have you guys prepared your traffic study?
We have not right now, but we currently are. And that will be in conjunction probably with 7 Brews ultimately. Just from a high level, we're not anticipating a drastic increase just given that this has the private road access. So there won't be buildup on Fairport 9 Mile Point Road or Penfield Road just because this is a private access road. So
If we can talk about the access, the private access road, there's not a signal at that private access road that we're talking about, correct?
that's right, yeah.
And do you anticipate these 2 additional restaurants there would change the need for that? Or will that be included in your analysis?
That will be included in the analysis, but I would just, from a preliminary standpoint, say probably not, just given the existing nature of the site. It was a restaurant before this, and now it will be, more food service. So that will be outlined once we get the traffic report finished up. Another thing I did want to bring up, I forgot to mention it in the little beginning spiel, is this is redevelopment by nature, so we're actually, both these projects combined are ultimately improving the site. We are reducing the impervious surfaces by a little bit, not too much. We'll have those more specific numbers as each of these site plans progress down the line. But the nature of the redevelopment project is kind of what's driving a lot of this. So stormwater will follow those redevelopment criteria. Traffic impacts will follow how it was an existing restaurant, and now we're proposing, similar use, that type of thing. But I just wanted to touch base on how the redevelopment was a main point here.
Last item on lighting. Have you guys done a photometric study and submitted that to the planning board?
Yes, we actually do have a lighting plan that we provided to the town. Yep, right there. And this will be updated. The idea here was, and this was actually from town PRC comments, was to have a combined lighting plan for both of these 2 sites. And the engineers from 7 Brew actually had reached out to us and provided their lighting plan, so we're currently in the process of combining those 2. So we will have an updated product to give to the town, which will reflect both of these sites combined. But this right here is just the preliminary. We have some wall packs right on the building, which the idea is to light up the outdoor seating in the front there by the little landscaped area. Both entrances have wall packs right by the doors. and then your mobile order pickup area with a wall pack, and then those various other light sources around the parking lot are just light poles. And of course, dark sky compliant, angled down, town of Penfield standards, everything will be followed there.
Just a comment, not a question. I'm pleased to hear that you're coordinating on the lighting plan. Definitely helps the planning board for you guys, you and Seven Brew, to coordinate as much as possible. And frankly, also for the owner to be involved, given that I think there are some larger site issues.
Yeah, we've been doing a lot of coordination recently. Since we both received the town comments, we've been more in touch, meetings, and going forward, I can tell you for sure that both of our plan sets and some resubmissions to the town will be much more detailed in terms of connecting to each other and having these combined types of plans. So that's something that we're definitely looking into. I know it's a bit of an unorthodox situation, but
Just got one question, can we assume that this is what it's going to look like?
if the assumed tenant does sign all the lease and there's an agreement with the developer, then yes, this is what it would look like.
So I just didn't know if you gave us this to say the building's going up there, so it would look like this.
Yes, with the assumed tenant, yeah.
If this goes through.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Adam. At this point, we will open it up for public comment. Because Project 2 was basically on the same parcel, I think this board can pretty much make the assumption that the comments on the last project we should consider for this project as well. The impacts are going to be, if not the same, pretty close. But given that, certainly anyone is welcome to come up and speak to this project, if you would like to. Yes.
I just want to reiterate.
And we should probably, for the record, do name and
Oh, yes,
address
sorry.
again, please.
Victoria Babina, 44 Bronston Drive. I just want to reiterate the points I mentioned before about noise and light pollution, because what I've heard from the developers so far is that, like, there's no traditional drive-through. You're not going to hear people ordering. But I think the other concern that I really have is the fact that both of these properties combined have a capacity of like 48 cars. I think there's 20 parking spots for the quick service restaurant. And for Seven Brew, they mentioned they have a lane capacity of 28 cars. I think that if we even, if I'm generous and I say that maybe they're half busy at all times, that's already like 24 cars there constantly from, 10 in the morning or 5:30 in the morning in the case of Seven Brew to 11 p.m. For both businesses. That is like an astronomical amount of increase in the amount of noise pollution that's going to be coming from the cars alone. In addition to the light pollution from the headlights, when it's winter and it gets dark early, you can see all of the headlights from the cars that go to the Burger King, the parking lot behind Burger King in our properties. That's only going to get worse with the additions of these two businesses, especially in the winter time. I just wanted to reiterate that concern that I have for these two developments. Thank you.
Thank you.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, can I ask a question? I'd like to ask a question of Doug. Do we know how the private drive, if you will, how all the easements work? Because I imagine there's some easements. I'm just, some of the, like they mentioned, the one roadway is on M&T property, and then I know you can actually get all the way to the traffic light to the south in the Jeremiah's Plaza. Are there rights of access that they all have? Do we know that at the town? Or?
Yes,
Okay.
there is cross access and shared access all the way out to the traffic signal at
And do any of those, do we have copies of those? I don't know if they cover like the maintenance of the road and who's responsible, and, I mean, that might
I
be
would have
something.
to look at each of the individual easements.
That might be something for each of the applicants to take a look at and report back so that we
Sure.
kind of have a better sense of how everything flows, because people are probably going to want to get to that light. But just a thought I had as we were listening to some of the traffic issues. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Yes, sir.
Hi, it's Ron Sokol again, 41 Brownson Drive. I have questions. What kind of food are you going to be serving? I know that sounds silly, but I want to know.
I think all questions have to be directed.
It's a restaurant, so what are you going to be putting?
Yeah, all questions have to be
Ron,
directed to the chair.
What?
For the public input, all of the comments go to the chair and to the board. If you have the applicant, when the questions come in, they can volunteer after the public has spoken if they would like to know, but for an answer. But I think at this point, this project, it's pretty preliminary, and the restaurant is kind of listed as generic, just a tenant. So I would guess they don't actually have maybe somebody secured or something's not been signed. So that really can't be answered at this point.
Okay.
I think, generically, it's a restaurant with some seating. A number of places are doing that order online and pickup window. I know Chipotle on Empire does that. So you can't order. It's just a pickup window.
Okay.
At some point in this process, we will know who the
Yeah.
restaurant is.
Oh, so you don't even know the name of the business yet?
We do not. We know
Okay.
that the developer is coming in. Of course, we know the owner of the property, but right now they're seeking, they're applying for approval, but we will know at some point in time.
Okay, okay. I get it. All right, thanks.
Sure. Okay, anyone else? Okay. Any last comments, Ron?
I guess I don't have anything else to add except we appreciate the feedback and we're looking forward to next time we meet with the improved plans.
Okay, board? Good. Okay, I will call this public hearing closed. Thank you, everyone. We will now go into a work session to discuss these projects and conclude the meeting. So Doug,
Yep.
for number one,
Yes.
I know there's some materials that are still pending.
That is correct, yep. So
Okay.
we did get the waterfront assessment form earlier this week. There was nothing exciting in it. They're really far off of the waterfront. I know they're working on revised plans. It's typical for us not to have received them by the public hearing. Most engineering firms like to collect both staff's comments and the board's comments before doing a new plan revision.
Okay, so we should probably, I would propose that we table pending receiving more information, then we can pick this up at our work session.
So you say, is there any of the items addressed by the residents, is there anything you would like the applicant to respond in writing to? I know most of them are traffic and driveways too small, and
Yeah, I
don't know if there's anything the board really wants additional.
I haven't been at the site,
clarifications
but
on.
it sounds like engineering has really looked at that access that goes by that there was some solution that would work.
Yeah, we've asked them to look at it to make sure that our pump station is, safe and not going to get hit or
Right.
snow be piled on it and stuff like that, and the hydrant will be okay. But yeah, the driveway seems to work, and they're looking to add some probably bollards around our pump station, which then we will coordinate with our sewer department and make sure that they still have access the way they can need and access it, and while we can protect it. So that's really the only concerns that DPW or the engineering department had.
Okay.
What's the total density? How many units could you build on this property?
It's tricky.
Is it tricky because of the slopes?
Because of the slope, I mean, I
But couldn't
believe
the front, you do the same as Tufa Glen Drive? You could just mirror them. You just flip them over.
Oh, yeah.
for the most part, yeah, so that the lot width,
Might be a little wider, but
I believe, so I know there was concern from some of the neighbors about subdivision. Lot 3 really can't be subdivided
Okay.
probably any further just because of the drop off in the back. It's 3.5 acres, but most of that 3.5 acres is not usable. Realistically, if you see the back
Yeah, right.
of the house there at 81, that's where
So
it drops
question
off.
maybe is, if they'd be willing to limit it to the 3,
We can request that. Again, lot
It's up to
1,
the board, I just stick
yes.
with it.
Lot 1 is, because of the flag, would be challenging to
Yeah.
subdivide, and then lot 2 is realistically
I think
the only-
practically speaking, it's not going to
Yeah.
be subdivided anymore. So,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. And to Steve's point, if they moved the last, on Lot 3, it sounds like if they kind of reconfigured, they'd be further away from that EPOD. Yeah.
Yeah, I
So
mean, it
that
seems
might
like
be
you
a
just
consideration.
slide it over a little
Yeah.
bit to the east and bada boom, save a woodland EPOD.
They say that's the boundary.
Yeah, we can certainly request that.
Okay.
See if they're amenable to it.
And given how conceptual the actual development seems on lots 1 and 2, I would ask them to evaluate accessing lot 3 and lot 2 from Creek. What would that look like?
All right. Can certainly ask that. Right. Is there anything else for tabling resolution?
I think that was the highlight.
Okay.
Okay, with those comments then, a motion to table?
Yeah, I'll make the motion on table Tydings.
Second,
Kanauer,
Kanauer, aye.
Daly,
Daly, aye.
McCooey,
McCooey, aye.
Tydings.
Tydings. Aye.
Okay, number 2.
All right, 2 and 3.
Yeah, basically 2 and 3.
So we're still waiting for a lot of information on that one. I know I don't believe we have a full stormwater report for 7 Brew. I know
We don't have anything.
There were discussions with the property owner on that.
You gonna check on that report from Mark for the runoff?
Well, I was with Mark on that trip, so apparently I was,
Not memorable?
I didn't get your name.
I mean, if
Yeah,
they couldn't
we didn't-
remember it, I don't know.
We didn't hear
but-
your name.
So yes, they do have some water issues. Do I think it's with any of these developments? No. I think we've had the wettest spring in 153 years. And that's
Sure.
1872. So we've had probably 15 inches of rain since April, and it rained today, so nothing has dried out enough yet so that when we get more rain, it just puddles again. Town standards are we reduce runoff from any commercial development by 20%. So that means what's running off currently has to be reduced by 20%. Now, all those Burger Kings and car wash have either underground storage or they have bioretention areas, and they're directed north or south. They're not directed towards Braunston Drive. So I have a hard time believing that any of these developments have increased their runoff. There could be groundwater issues that I don't know about, but Mark and I do want to look at that pond, and we figured as part of their developments that they were going to enhance that sliver of a pond in the back that was probably built in the 70s or whatever. But they say they're going to bypass it, so I'm very curious on what they're coming up with.
Don't they have the little asphalt bumps that they're supposed to run the water down into the sewers? I think the water is going over there. Did I go down there?
Well, and I know that resident said that behind Burger King, so right behind Burger King,
There's that little plaza.
yeah, there's actually another approved building that will go there right where the grass is, and they put the trees in as a buffer. Under that parking lot is underground storage, and he was saying water was running over the inlet and going into the yard. So now I really want another rainstorm event because I want to go see if that's actually happening.
Yeah.
Because that might be sort of some of the maybe runoff challenge, but again, you're going into a grass which is permeable and would slow it down, but they do drop off probably good 15 feet from the parking lot. So
There's a big slope. I mean,
Yeah.
go back there quite a bit, and there's a lot of slope down there. And like I say, I can see
Right.
the water jumping that curb.
But basically, everything from Burger King south goes to the pond behind Doodlebugs. If you go south, man.
Doodle bugs.
Oh, yeah.
So it goes to that, well, you can barely make it out, it's a lot bigger, yeah. So it goes to that pond, which then that pond goes into our town facility pond, which then goes down through the stream and then goes into Parrington. So we've looked at this several times, and it's just a wet spring, I think. The last time they complained was the last wet spring, so that was like 3 years ago.
Yeah, she kept bringing up 2022.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This housing development was built in the late 80s, so their stormwater requirements were substantially less back then. The drainage plan really for the development, there was a pond proposed. Actually, I think I'm looking at.
I think there is one at the end of
There's one at the end of
Yeah, it's a-
Braunston, but for most of those properties, I believe
There's no rear yard inlets.
there's no rear yard inlets. It's graded swales.
Yes.
Those graded swales have had 40 years to deteriorate, and residents to
Well, and they put
fill them
sheds,
in and put sheds.
landscaping, trampolines, whatever you want to, they put in there, and it's blocking the drainage. So we've told them that the best thing would be putting trench drains in and then directing it towards the road and allowing it to go into the gutter, which then would go into a catch basin. But today's standards in the town is there's an inlet every third lot or 400 feet. These subdivisions built in the 80s, there's no rear yard catch basins.
So I do have the grading plan for it. The intention was to direct them all, because the property slopes from sort of 250 down into their subdivision and ultimately to the sort of creek that runs, between, what is that, Braunston and, is that Canterbury Trail?
Yes.
The intention was that water would sheet flow from west to east through side yard swales to the road, get picked up in the roadside catch basins and drained to the pond at the end of the cul-de-sac. So that was the original drainage plan 40 years ago, 1986, 87.
Doug, can I ask another question about, like, thinking about buffering? So there's a requirement of a 100-foot buffer from the residential property line to any appurtenance, I think, in the GB.
Yep.
And I can't get a sense of scale here. Like, are we making sure that that is buffered? Because this is like, you got this GB right up against what is maybe, R120?
Yes. So, Matt, if you turn the zoning off real quick.
Just turned it on.
So if you see where the pond is there on 2195 and the difference between the grass sort of mowed area and the non-mowed area, that's about 100 feet. So the proposed development, I believe, is in the ballpark of 220, 230 feet.
Yeah, so that's, 100 feet's pretty. So
Though
if
it
they
could
ever
be
come in and develop that parcel, then that is something that really needs to be looked at, is to put something in that buffering, because I've walked there and it is, you could see that like
The owner of
Henrietta right
2195 is the same owner as 2130. Something the board could consider is some form of off-site buffering improvement, if that's a fence or something like that, that would catch trash as well as provide a visual and noise.
It's like you really need probably trees or a berm or something, but that's,
Wasn't that proposed last time, the other project that?
So when Chick-fil-A was proposed there, they were, the intention was to use a significant portion actually of 2195 as well. I don't remember what they proposed as buffering along the east side.
It was quite extensive, if I recall.
because you really need something, like, this might not be the project to do it, but it's kind of thin where the trees are, and it's just remarkable that you're in a residential subdivision, and you look through and you see the red light from Burger King.
Yeah.
It's like the Kenny Rogers Roasters from Seinfeld.
Yeah, I view it as an opportunity, frankly, with the same owner.
Sure.
Owning all parcels. It just seems like we need some more coordination among everybody.
Including the access road. I mean, I know that's M&T, that's got the worst part, but.
Well, I think M&T probably had that fixed, because just their stretch in the last week, all the potholes are filled.
Oh, really? Okay.
I think they filled in
I haven't been there in a little
topped.
bit.
But I also believe it's a lease. I don't know who actually owns the property, though, on that one. If it's still owned by the Trow family, or if it was sold as well.
The restaurant applicant, and I didn't quite follow it, I don't know if you caught it, he talked about the drainage not going into the pond, but into a swale back there.
Where does that go?
Well, right, so that trout pond that's right there, that drains to the north, and there's a swale that goes between the pond and to 441. So my understanding is he's going to discharge his pipe into that swale somewhere and then let it, surface drain into 441.
So that pond was built as part of the Perkins when it was built in 2001-ish. Is there a reason we wouldn't want them or require them to, or wouldn't want to require them to at least maintain it or bring it back up to standards?
Well,
How would he be able to do,
I would have to talk to Mark about that, because I think we're getting outside our purview if they're going to do what they're saying. If they were going to, our expectation was that they were going to modify and bring that pond up to today's standards and not utilize underground storage, but they're talking about using underground storage, so.
as soon as they have a pipe off-site, though, doesn't that allow us to then deal with whatever's on the property that they're, it seems like normally you deal with that all on-site.
Generally.
Yeah.
But it does, yeah, it needs a discharge somewhere.
Yeah.
So there's going to have to be some, I think, logistics looked at as far as, I believe there is an easement that allows that pond to drain that way now, so.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, the big ones, obviously the drainage and then the buffering.
Yep, so we can request a drainage report, and I don't believe they provided a full SWIP either, stormwater pollution protection plan.
Okay.
We're still waiting for, we did get 2 questions back, or sort of 2 comments back from our traffic consultant who reviewed their traffic operations report. Their 2 questions were, given the precedents set by other recently constructed 7 Brew establishments in upstate New York, we recommend an internal queuing analysis be completed to confirm there's sufficient on-site storage of vehicles. 7 Brew is really popular. I have been to the one in Ridgemont Plaza. It is an absolute mess in terms of queuing. I don't think they have a nearly as long a queue as they're proposing here, but it can get kind of messy. So having them provide, if the board would like to request average queuing at their Western New York or upstate New York locations and comparing that against a stacking analysis of their site,
I think that
would be appropriate.
Makes sense, yeah.
Their second question was a capacity analysis, given the high average daily traffic on both 250 and 441, having to do shared capacity analysis at the intersections at 441 and 250, where most of the traffic will be directed to. And they're hoping to get a formal report into the board by the end of this week.
They're also going to have to submit it to the DOT, because DOT's jurisdiction over 250 and 441.
Unfortunately, they didn't give us great comments in the DRC review. So both these applications being on county or on state roads and meeting several other thresholds were sent in for 239 review with Monroe County and their development review committee, which then sends it out to other agencies. They did send it to New York State DOT. I believe DOT's only comment is that any work within the right-of-way is going to require a right-of-way permit. But having them coordinate with DOT, especially for any improvements that may be necessary for the access points. So I know other Doug, 7 Brew Doug, noted that they have outside speakers and they don't play music over them. I have, again, been to the Ridgemont location several times. They definitely play music on the speakers, external speakers.
I think he did say that they play music in the speakers.
He said occasionally for the opening, but mostly they play it from the inside.
Yeah, I think, but it's clear they play.
It's clear they play music. I think it would be a reasonable request for them not to have outside or amplified music, especially given their proximity to single-family residential homes and the hours of operation.
Yeah, I think that.
I agree.
I mean, if they already can hear, the telecom on the ordering, they're going to hear the music, so.
And again, I generally have only been to the Ridgemont location, but it's loud. They're blasting music over there. Again, they're on Route 104. Route 104 is loud as well, so it's a cacophony of noise. But it's something for the board to consider.
Yeah, I'm even annoyed at the gas station when they're playing commercials because you're pumping gas.
Oh, yeah, at the pump.
go through. Drainage, music, water issues, drainage, garbage. I know comments were made regarding the Burger King. Unfortunately, that's outside of the scope of this application.
Right.
And the Burger King.
But they could inform, like, what we need to make sure
Yes.
we avoid in this application.
Certainly. Parking lot slope, hours of operation. So the hours of operation are permitted within the district. General business is permits up to 24-hour operation.
So for 7 Brew, can you have walkout customers?
They don't, no.
They have to be in a car?
Yep.
I think the only exception they mentioned was for, first responders. Like, they would be able to pull in quickly. Yeah, that was one thing that I remember when we had spoken about earlier.
It does say in their letter of intent, we do offer walk-up ordering service,
okay.
but this equates to less than 1% of our sales.
I mean, I'd be surprised if anyone does. In the past, we have requested, like at the Empire location, an initial comment from staff was to provide sidewalks up to the building for that purpose.
No, but they do have like a crosswalk across. I mean, they've incorporated that in the design, I think. They had like the zebra stripes, I thought I saw.
It does look like they do. Because the ordering, again, they don't have a drive-through order box. They have staff members with tablets that walk up to your car and take the order on a tablet. Similar to Chick-fil-A does it at a lot of their locations.
Yeah, I think that's most of them, my notes too. So on that, given what we discussed, are we ready to make a motion to table number 2?
So moved.
Second.
Kanauer,
Kanauer, aye.
Daly,
Daly, aye.
McCooey,
McCooey, aye.
Tydings.
Again, I'll reiterate a lot of the same comments for number 3.
Yeah, I was going to say for number 3, it's pretty
getting
much
late.
cut and paste.
Yeah. So, again, that one, we're still waiting for even more. So, we can make a general comments. For them to provide additional information. That one, we also received back, actually, I think for both of them, we also received back comments from the town's landscape consultant. Oh, this is going to take forever to load. So going back really quickly just for 7 Brew, his general comments were the shade trees that they're providing won't provide headlight screening. Plantings on 250 should be evergreen or dense deciduous shrubs and large enough at installation to block headlights from cars in the drive-through. 18-inch tall shrubs will not provide proper buffering, and he recommends that shade be provided on the outdoor seating area. So we will forward along those comments, or we have forwarded along those comments from the landscape consultant, but we can reiterate them in the tabling resolution. I don't think we need a new vote for that, but we'll, just as another point to add. For this one, the south side, Again, he recommends some sort of shade-producing element in the dining area, since it's on the south one. The quick service area is also very exposed. He pulled out from one of the notes, they said they're only putting mulch around the individual plants. He asked what's expected of the remaining space in the garden beds. And again, plantings along 250 to blunt the headlights. And he noted a correction in the name for one of the plants proposed. So we will provide those, we have provided those landscaping comments to the applicant. We'll reiterate them in the tabling resolution. I don't know, we didn't ask about outdoor speakers at that location, but if that's something the board's interested in requesting, given
Oh, if they're going to.
if they're going to do something like outdoor speakers. It can be something we discuss with them at the
Yeah,
future
I
work
think
session.
it would be
If it's not interested.
Yeah, we
It
don't
would be
know
good
how
to
long
know
this-
what is the business.
Yeah,
Like
we don't even
Seven
know.
The first-
Seven
the
Brew
floor.
seems to have outdoor speakers as part of their like format. You can
Yes.
expect that.
Yeah.
So
They'll try to drown out Seven Brew, right?
Right. Tell us what this is.
Bob, I think you nailed it on the head. I think it's
yeah, there's not
I
that many mobile pickup lanes.
I don't think he picked it up. That's what it looks like, anyway.
Yeah, they're the only ones I know with the mobile order pickup.
There's a few
And
other
they do like a
places that have
shared
started doing that.
drive-through lane
Yeah.
here and there,
Yeah.
like with the Starbucks.
Yeah. There was a Moe's there, and now it's going to be a Chipotle. Well, I guess right next to
Oh, Moe's closed, so.
it. Right, that's when.
Oh, yeah.
Chipotle.
Yeah.
Maybe they knew.
Okay.
So we can reiterate the same comments between the two regarding generally buffering drainage, landscaping,
Drainage, yeah.
stormwater, and this one to submit a traffic study and to coordinate the traffic studies.
Okay. I will move that we table the restaurant number 3 application.
Second.
Kanauer,
Kanauer, aye.
Daly,
Daly, aye.
McCooey,
McCooey, aye.
Tydings.
Tydings. Aye.
Okay, anything else?
That's all
Doug?
I had for the board.
Thank you. And I will call this meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Yeah.